Cambodia town thrives. Before we begin, let's get the interpretation instructions going. Today we have translation in Spanish and Khmer. So I'm going to pass the screen over to Edna Santixo to do the instruction for Spanish translation.
Gracias. Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos. Vamos a tener.
Stop. Let's give a couple minutes for folks to join in.
Okay. Vamos a esperar unos minutos para que todas las personas se unan y luego vamos a dar instrucciones para la interpretación. We're going to wait just a couple of minutes so everyone can join us and then we'll start the interpretation function. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ចំពោះបងប្អូនខ្មែរយើងចាពេលដែលចូលមកហើយគឺថាយើងនឹងមានការបកប្រែជាភាសាខ្មែរផងដែរប៉ុន្តែឥឡូវនេះយើងមិនទាន់ចាប់ដើមទេយើងនឹងរងចាំចំពោះបងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់មកចូលរួមឲ្យបានជួបជុំគ្នាមុននឹងយើងចាប់ផ្ដើមសូមអរគុណ
I see Susanna on, yep.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining the Cambodia Town Thrives kickoff event. The Future of Cambodia Town, a community conversation. We'll be waiting a few more minutes as people are joining. We have a lot of people that have registered, but we are also doing this on Zoom, but also on Facebook Live. So we'll give it a few more minutes.
All right.
Okay, we're going to get this event started. So I would like to introduce our welcoming speaker today, Laura Som, who's the Executive Director of the May Center.
Thank you so much, Susanna. Welcome, everyone. Bienvenidos. Welcome to Cambodia Town Thrives kickoff event, the future of Cambodia Town, a community conversation. My name is Laura Som, and I am the Executive Director of the May Center, a member of the Cambodia Town Thrives initiative. Cambodia Town Thrives is made up of 5 organizations: UCC, Long Beach Forward, City Fabric, Walk Bike Long Beach, and the May Center. Thank you to our partners, such as Elsa Tung with Long Beach Forward, Alex Young and Brian Yolaski with City Fabric, Steve Gerhardt with Walk Bike Long Beach, and of course, especially Susanna Sneem for spearheading this initiative with the United Cambodian Community. Our goal is to uplift community perspectives and voices to shape the future vision and development of Cambodia Town. Thank you to all the partners that are here with us and for the Cambodia Town Film Festival for sponsoring tonight's event. Thank you to all the participating through Zoom and Facebook Live. We have Khmer and Spanish translation available through Zoom. I would like to thank Satari Lee, who will be providing Khmer interpretation, and Edna Santizo will be providing Spanish interpretation. If at any time you have a question or comment, feel free to type it into the Zoom chat or Facebook Live comments. We'll use the Zoom chat to open up discussion for the panelists. Tonight, we will be screening the short documentary called Cambodia Town Not for Sale by Brandon Suen and Lan Nguyen. After the screening, we will have a panel discussion with the filmmakers and Cambodia Town stakeholders about the future and the development of Cambodia Town that will be facilitated by Praj Lee, co-founder and director of the Cambodia Town Film Festival. Tonight's event is to kick off a 6-month process to gather community input and write a community vision for Cambodia Town neighborhood. Cambodia Town is in the heart of city of Long Beach and is home to the largest Cambodian population in the nation and the most culturally diverse neighborhood in our city. The city of Long Beach has created many different development plans for Cambodia Town, focusing on mobility, smart cities, and street improvements. In the next years, the city will again lead a planning process to develop plans and rezoning along Anaheim Street called the AC Zip. In order to ensure that these plans are in alignment with community values and invest in local community residents, businesses, and stakeholders, and the Cambodia Town Thrives initiative will host a series of community engagement activities to build a collective community vision for the future of Cambodia Town. Tonight, we will take a critical look at development in Cambodia Town and what that means for our residents and business owners. We invite you to learn with us, share with us your voice and experience. Your first opportunity to share is a short poll. Please share how you are connected to Cambodia Town. And if you are on Facebook Live, please write your connection in the comments. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to hear all the various perspectives in our process together in envisioning the future of Cambodia Town. Before we view the film, I would like to introduce our panel for today. First is tonight's moderator, Praj Lee, co-founder and co-director of Cambodia Town Film Festival, who sponsored tonight's event. Next, we have 2 filmmakers of Cambodia Town Not for Sale, Brandon Suen and Lan Nguyen. Brandon Suen is a Cambodian-American documentary filmmaker from Long Beach, California, and a recent UCLA graduate with a BA in Asian American Studies. His personal work centers around the Southeast Asian community, covering topics such as education, gentrification, and immigration justice. Alongside his documentary work, he is also a freelance videographer and a video production intern for this year's Cambodia Town Film Festival. Lan Nguyen is the daughter of Vietnamese refugees and was raised in Cambodia Town, Long Beach. Lan is a filmmaker, educator, and a community organizer and cares deeply about the issues such as immigration, incarceration, and racial justice. Our next panelist is Puchivi Pang, whose family owns KH Market that is located in the Anaheim Plaza. I would like to introduce Sanai Kinfi, a business owner and community leader in Cambodia Town. And lastly, Susanna Sneem is the executive director of the United Cambodian Community. She was born and raised in Cambodia Town. Next, I would like to pass it on to Praj, who will be moderating the panel. Praj, you got the floor.
Before Praj gets started, I don't know if the interpreters are able to speak, but we can provide some instructions on how to access the interpretation. I know that it can be a little difficult. So if Edna, if you're able to speak and share first how to access the Spanish translation.
Edna put a message on here and says she says she cannot hear.
So real quick, I could do it in English. So to access Khmer or Spanish language on Zoom, please click on the interpretation button located at the bottom right of your screen. For Khmer, select French, and for Spanish, select Spanish. Once selected, please mute the original sound English to hear only Khmer or Spanish. For those that are joining us through Facebook Live, we will be posting the Khmer and Spanish video later on in this week.
Okay. Well, thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties. Definitely, if you are able to, down below on the screen, there's a button that says share screen, record, and then Q&A and interpretation. Click on interpretation and select the language. Spanish is one language, and then also Khmer is under the French banner. So if you can click that. So thank you again, and then we'll go ahead and have Praj lead our discussion.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Praj. I am the co-founder and co-director of the Cambodia Town Film Festival here in Long Beach, California. And thank you, Susanna. Thank you, UCC, for making this panel happen tonight. It's been very frustrating the last couple of months of what had happened to our community. But before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about our film festival that's coming up in next week. And it's from September 16th to the 20th. It's free screening for the entire 4 days of the festival. You can watch any movies you want on there. All you have to do is just sign up, claim your tickets, and that's it. It's free. Like Pasay said, it's free. Everything is free. Even this water is free. So sign up on that, and we've been working really, really hard. I'm proud of, I'm happy and proud of all our members and our 4 interns to make it happen this year and to bring you over 40 films and 7 to 11 different panels. We have cooking shows. We have a KickOff concert that we've had Clap Your Hands film from Cambodia, and also Bochan and RJ in Oakland. And we also have different panels to discuss about filmmaking and how the process works. And also we have a coloring book that's coming out for the kids and the students. So go to CambodiaTownFilmFestival.com, and there's a link there where you can go and just claim your tickets and you can watch it for free. All incredible films, and we are very proud this year to actually make that happen. And with the current situation that we're in, we're not able to show it in theaters, but we're bringing it to your living room, and it's free. So tune into that, go to CambodiaTownFilmFestival.com and claim your tickets. And after this, I want to introduce Brandon and Lan to introduce their film, Cambodia Town Not For Sale. So Brandon.
Hi, everyone. I can go first. My name is Lan. I am the co-director of Cambodia Town Not For Sale. And before we introduce our film, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the Cambodia Town residents and business owners who shared their story, and community leaders who shared their stories with us in this film. This film would not have been possible without the trust and collaboration of the community. Many of you are on this panel today, and many of you are in the room watching this. So we just wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of this film. We don't think of this as our film, we think of this as the community's film. So I hope that you all enjoy watching the film that we all played a part in making.
Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Brandon. I'm the other co-director of Cambodia Town Not For Sale. It's an honor to be here, and thank you to everyone who joined in and who made this thing possible. So to give a synopsis of our film tells the story of Cambodia Town Long Beach, which is the largest population of Cambodians outside of Cambodia, and this working class neighborhood, which consists of various communities of color, and faces threats of gentrification. So this film was our way of uplifting our community and resist against the loss of a vital space among all Long Beach residents, not just Cambodians. So with that, we hope this film inspires our audience to prioritize our community over corporate profits, and I'm excited for everyone to see it.
Hi, everyone. Just real quick, if you would like to make some comments, please type your comments into the chat box and select all panelists. So that way we all could see it. I think a few of you have selected just one or two or directly someone else.
Thank you so much for coming to the So we were not told anything. Like all we got was a notice that there was a city planning committee. And that's how we even knew that our businesses were going to get demolished. They didn't speak to us. Well, they promised to speak to us for the past month. They keep saying, oh, we'll talk to you guys, we'll talk to you guys. We have not heard a word from them. We keep reaching out to them. They do not speak to us at all.
Community are things that are both everywhere and nowhere, kind of, in the sense that they kind of exist in the spaces around us. Like, you know, as a kid, if you come here every single day, you don't even think about it, it just becomes a part of your daily life. But that's how, you know, your culture gets imprinted onto you, and that's how you learn to appreciate it, and that's how you pass it on. And especially here in Long Beach, where they take so much pride in being the largest population of Cambodians outside of Cambodia, you know, it's super important that with that reputation, we protect this. When I first heard about it, I think I was sad, but I wasn't as worked up as, you know, as say now. And once I heard about, you know, the rest of the plaza getting demolished or redone, I think I was furious. I called up all my friends, all my Cambodian friends, and I was like, did you hear about this? I would take my grandma to Khun Hing. I would go to La Lune for weddings, for community events. Places like New Panda I would go to. And you know, these businesses are also owned by people whose families I know.
I think maybe most of the customers, they don't know it yet. Yeah, just some customers, they hear it, they help us. First, we feel so shocked that I don't believe it, but now I'm not very sure that they knock it down or they do something. You know? We have no choice if they want to do it, but we very sad, you know, we've been here so long time, so yeah. all my customers know each other, know us. Right now, we're not sure. We don't hear anything. Just hear from other people. They told us, but they don't tell us to knock it down and do something else. So that's all we know. You know, it's so hard for us because all my family depend on this business, and I don't know what to do with it.
It's hard, like that's most thing that like customer support for your business first. They really like us too, and we really good service for them. We can keep for like 36 years here. They want hide the loyal to fight to keep our store here. Every customer said, "Don't move, okay? Keep it, don't move." I said, "Okay, we try to not move." It's very comfortable. It's most people know here. I don't want to move. If you move, but you lost your customer. Nobody want to go to find you or here easy. This company center, they want to shut down here, but we fine.
A place to make memories and such.
I think you're completely getting rid of what makes Long Beach unique and what potentially makes Long Beach economically viable.
So there's a lot of things that would help out the Cambodian community, especially for my parents, because they don't have other areas they can go.
So when I first heard about it, my heart dropped because it was as if I was losing my home.
I think this is showing that we have the power to organize, and I was really glad to see that these business owners came, and that they're ready to talk, that they were sharing struggles and their stories of what's happening, how they're trying to get the property manager, the developer to talk to them, and that's the frustrating part, right? Is that we're trying to be heard, and we're having to fight to be heard. We had community members, community leaders come together, and that's the point of this, is that we have the opportunity to dialogue, to engage, and to work together to better build out our community.
I had neighbors that every day were getting jumped. That doesn't happen here anymore. And that's not because of real estate. That's because of the work that our families have done, that our communities have done to improve our neighborhoods, and because of other regional issues like gentrification, displacement. What that brings up for us is how are we resilient to that?
I'm very hopeful that if anything that came out of this, I know that my community is building power. And that's something I always celebrate, because to be disenfranchised and to not have power and to be displaced takes that away from you. And I'm seeing that power be built. So I'm hopeful that something will happen, that I'm hopeful that these businesses will find a victory and win in a way that works for them. It might not be the ideal win, but it is going to be some sort of victory. And if anything, we're still building power. And I think that in itself is a win already.
So thank you all for watching the film. I want to introduce Brandon and Len, the filmmakers behind the documentary. So Brandon, as a filmmaker, this question is for both of you. So as a filmmaker, what was your intention in creating this short documentary, and what was the process?
I can go first. So I'm a Long Beach native. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California. And I lived down the street from Riverside Market up until I was 5. And then soon after that, my family and I moved to North Long Beach, which also had a huge Cambodian population as well. But my family and I would also like drive down to Cambodia town like several times a week to get like groceries, run errands, and eat at restaurants and stuff. And East Anaheim Plaza, which is highlighted in the film, is a place I grew up going to. And I go to like KH Market with my mom. We would get our family pictures developed at the photography studio that was once there. And my mom would also get her hair done at the hair salon there. And so when I heard about the news of like demolition like almost 2 years ago, it felt like a piece of my identity and my home were going to be lost as well. I knew I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to like spread awareness about it. And at that time, one of my Asian American studies professors connected me with Lan. And from then there on, we spent the next like 6 months planning out the film, going out to shoot, meeting people and business owners, and just editing the film and trying to spread awareness of the issue.
Thanks, Brendan, for sharing. I can share a little bit about how this project came to be. And I'm so thankful that Brandon got a chance to get involved and be a huge part of making this film happen. It could not have happened without Brandon. So very glad to have you as a team member, Brandon. But how this first came about was I saw the KH petition on Facebook. One of my family members had shared it. And when I looked at that and I read the petition, I was just in shock that KH Market was at risk of being demolished. And then I, read some other news articles and saw that the whole plaza was at risk. And like many folks had shared in the film, I just felt so heartbroken. I am Vietnamese American, but my family grew up in Cambodia town. I lived on Walnut and Anaheim for the first 7 years of my life, and then moved to 17th and PCH. So we would walk to the Anaheim Plaza, and that's where we got our food, our social services. There's an in-language social service agency. We got Vietnamese social services. My dad worked at the pho restaurant in the plaza. We go to the doctor's office there. We go to the herbal medicine store there. So it's just such a big part of my upbringing. And when I heard that it was getting demolished, I felt like I had to act immediately. So what I did was I shared pictures of the plaza along with personal stories about how each of the businesses had impacted me, sort of like what I had just shared now. And the post got around 300 shares on Facebook. And I saw how much it resonated with folks. And I felt like there are so many other, like hundreds, maybe thousands of people who share the same experiences as me. And I didn't want to just be this one for people to think like this one person, me appreciating Cambodia Town. I wanted to show that the whole community depends on it. So we wanted to create this documentary to show that this is an integral part to our community, and to also show that we are resilient too. Like we're, our people, our Southeast Asian people, we were pushed out of our countries as a result of war, and we built a new home here in Cambodia Town. And now once again, we are, there's an attempt to push us out to create space for corporations. But as you see in the documentary, our people are not allowing that. We're fighting back, and we are going to keep our homes and make it stronger. So I'm really excited to hear from everyone else today and envision what a Cambodia Town can look like in the future.
Thank you, guys. So for those who just tuning in and doesn't know where Cambodia Town is it's in Long Beach, California, and it's a 1.5 mile stretch from Junipero all the way to Atlantic, and it houses a lot of Cambodian businesses, and the one that's showcasing in this film is the one on Atlantic and Martin Luther King. I'm sorry, Anaheim and Martin Luther King. And it affected me a lot too, because when we recently just had the demonstration and the looters, that part or that center got hit hard. And we as the community went out to help do the repairs and try whatever we can to help out and assist the business owners and also those who are living nearby there, giving them food and such like that. So going back to the film, what is the current updates and development plans for Anaheim and Atlantic? Oh, sorry, I think because your business is there, Kun Heng. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Hear you now.
Hi. Okay, so after the community forum, the property owner had a meeting with all the business owners in one place, and then they decided to have one-on-one meetings afterwards. So everyone wasn't really connected and able to basically talk to each other about what was going on. So they basically secluded everyone, and now unfortunately a lot of businesses have moved out. If you look on the plaza, more than half of it is just empty. So unfortunately, all the businesses that used to be there, like the hair salon, the Chinese food, they're all vacated. And at this point right now, we recently just got another letter for a public from the planning committee that they're applying for something else for another business that's moving in. I believe it is either a Superior or another Smart and Final. I'm not too sure. There's a lot of information going around, but they haven't spoken to us directly, so we aren't exactly sure what's going on. All I know is for us, we have until next July, and that's basically all we have to work on right now.
Thank you. So for those who doesn't know, Bit's family owns Khoon Heng Market. It's on Martin Luther King and Anaheim Street. It's one of the largest Cambodian supermarket out there, and we've shopped there for many years, and we hope that it continue on for years to come. And so how has the development impacted you and your family business prior or during COVID?
Well, during COVID, I feel like I'm seeing the community even more since, you know, everyone's forced to stay home, but this development has really shown me like what community is. People are always so supportive whenever they come in. They're always asking about like, you know, what our next steps are, if we're going to be able to stay in the community. So we're just really grateful that everyone has supported us the way they have, even though the future is really uncertain. And like, you know, we felt powerless for a really long time, but we decided we needed to take action and fight. And a lot of the community were fighting alongside with us. You know, everyone came together, all the organizations, all the community members, everyone shared their story. And yeah, I haven't really talked about this too much because it's just, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember when COVID started to happen and like there were a food shortage and a rice shortage. And I remember seeing your brother and stuff, you know, I remember seeing like a load of truck comes in and put the rice in the front. And what we do is we try to mobilize, you know, they're taking pictures and then sending it out to people and say, hey, we just got a new load of, you know, of rice in front of the stores. You know, if you guys need it, come get it right now, because it's kind of like first come, first serve, because we're not sure what's going on. So thank you guys for doing that. I mean, kept the community fed and continuing to do so. So how can we help out? How can the community help you guys out?
So I don't feel like we need any more support from the community. I feel like at this point, like, you know, with the film and everything, I think it's more important now than ever that the community continues to shop small, shop local, and shop cultural businesses. So, and just staying informed with what's going on, and in the future, you know, to try and keep something like this from happening again. Just being collaborative with community leaders like UCC and Long Beach Forward and everyone else, because everyone is able to access the information once you know, UCC and Long Beach Forward make it available. So I think just staying informed and staying connected so that something like this doesn't happen again.
So shop small, shop local. Anything about relocation letters or advocacy, anything like that we can help to assist you?
We don't know what we're doing right now. So we're still trying to figure things out. Things are still bleak. So we're just trying to take it one day at a time at this point.
Well, you know, if you do need an assistance or help, we're here for you. So that's
We
why
appreciate that.
Thank you for that. And again, you guys go shop at Khoon Heng Market if you can. There's good rice and good food over there. So this documentary, Sena, this documentary shows one of the ways development affect businesses. What ways does development in Cambodia Town affect the community and its residents? And this question is for Sinai.
Sinai.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Can you repeat that again? What way? Say it again.
Thank you for joining us today, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, this documentary shows one of the ways development affects businesses. What ways does development in Cambodia Town affect the community and its residents?
I mean, it's clearly just an example that we heard right before me. It's clearly enabling displacement. You know, Cambodia Town has existed in the last 30 plus years as a place of refuge for a lot of people escaping, you know, outright genocide. I guess that's the term you would use here. And, you know, from the resiliency of a lot of these immigrants who came into an area who didn't speak the language and built a community there, it's been a place of refuge for them. Unfortunately, with development, you know, you have outside agents who have no connection to the story of what Cambodia Town is for Long Beach, and they have no urgency or feel it's essential to maintain the continuity of a community. And so, you know, with regard, can we say the developer's name, or is that an issue? I don't That's fine. Okay. It's Mr. Black, I think his name, or yeah, you know, like he doesn't live in the area. So what is it to him that, you know, these I'm trying to think the right term. These edifices, these buildings that matter so much to people. To someone outside the neighborhood, they're like, well, this is just a grocery store or it's just a restaurant. But for people who, you know, are first generation, you know, that's their neighbor, you know, when there was 100 people in the area that can respond to them, or that's someone from the same village from back home. You know, so I think with development, to answer your original question, yeah, if it's not controlled, you know, you're going to have these repeated conversations and repeated unfortunate travesties where, you know, you're editing out storylines and lineages that matter with regards to the diversity of what Long Beach is. And that's wrong. And so, you know, it's up to us in the community to fight for, you know, our rights in a sense here, because it's clear that, you know, when this originally came down the pipeline, there was a clear lack of communication, both from the Planning Commission, from the 6th District office, as well as from the mayor's office. And I don't think it's necessarily, maybe on the hand of the developer, malicious intent there, but it's just clear that the needs of the people aren't respected within this specific example, and that has to change.
Yeah, thank you. And these are the livelihoods of the the community. They're not just Cambodians, but Black, white, Latinos. And when the looting happened on March 29th, not March 20th, May 29th, one of the pharmacy, the family farm, the local pharmacy there got hit really hard. And within 2-3 days, they had to restock back up. Like you're talking about like $500,000 of medical supplies and stuff. And I went there and talked to him, and you know, I'm like, shouldn't you like wait for the insurance to do the inspection and everything like that? And his comment to me was, I can't wait because people are relying on their medicine, and if I don't have these medications for them, where are they going to get it at? You're talking about people are diabetes and so on and so forth. So he had to take it upon himself to think first and act first before the legal term comes in, because you know that neighborhood, which is across the street from Poly High School, needed these medications, and they rely on that family pharmacy to get their medications.
Yeah.
And that's
sorry, not to cut you off. To your point, because I was actually cleaning the next day on Monday with a lot of the businesses in that area. My grandparents, they live on 16th and MLK, so literally right down the street from this pharmacy. And you know, my grandfather struggled with kidney cancer for a large part of his life. And, you know, this pharmacy that you're describing was, you know, our lifeline, both as being low income people, as well as being, you know, in ourselves being relative new immigrants into the area. And so I think that a lot of these spaces, there's an entire network of people who maybe, I think they exist in what's called the informal economy. So, you know, you don't really have this top-down recognition of them or what their value is, because you don't see it when it comes to like the business license revenue that the city's accounting for. And that's unfortunately why a lot of our areas are being targeted, because the city provides the information to these developers about value, and the problem is the metrics that they're using to determine value is inappropriate to what the value of these places are for the people in the community. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, that's fine. The other thing is too, is like both of his shop got hit. Like he also owns the one on Anaheim and Cherry, that corner Mosaic Pharmacy. He also owned that one, and that one got hit as well. So this question is for all the panelists. Whoever wants to talk, please do. How does the current environment and movement, such as Black Lives Matter and COVID-19, affect development for future next steps? And what do we need to consider as we address development changes in the future?
I would love to go first, if that's okay, just since we were already on the conversation about the looting. Yeah, since right now, you know, I do want to address what is happening with that happened with the looting in the past, and we are continuing to see these uprisings. But I do want to bring attention to the root causes, right? So with these Black Lives Matter protests, and the reason, like what is the root cause of the looting? The root cause is that the police are murdering African Americans. They're murdering Black Americans, such as George Floyd and many others in Long Beach, in our own city. And I just want to point out that during that night, when the Cambodia Town neighborhood was looted, we saw that there were so many cops staged in the Lakewood Center. So the police were devoting all of their resources to protecting the Lakewood Mall, which has Target and Macy and all of these other stores that can be easily replaced. You know, you can easily drive to a different Macy's to get your shirt or whatever, but there's only one, you know, Cambodian herbal medicine shop. So it's very clear who the police seeks to protect. They seek to protect the interests of corporations, of upper class people. They don't seek to protect the interests of Southeast Asians, of people of color, of low income people. So, you know, since we're talking about the looting right now, I do want to bring attention to the root causes. And I think when it comes to talking about these developments and the changes in our community, I think that it is very important to think about the role of police in our community. Like when I was thinking about this question, this memory came up. I don't think I even told Brandon this, but when I was shooting this film, I was shooting the outside of KH Market for the film. An undercover cop walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, like, what are you doing here? That's an expensive camera. You don't belong here with that camera. You know, someone's going to jump you and take that camera." And I was like, I have gone to this plaza so many more times than I can count. What do you mean I don't belong here? You know, like, this is my community. Like, yes, this is an expensive camera, but this is my community. So I think it comes to show that, you know, the police go undercover, they come in our communities, and they think lowly of our communities. They don't value our communities. So I think when we're thinking about the future of Cambodia Town, I want us to think about what role does the police play, and, you know, all the money that goes to the police for them to go undercover and stand in front of KH Market and tell me to be careful with my camera. Think about if that money were to go to healthcare, to go to schools for our children. There's just so many other ways that we could strengthen our community. And in terms of what's going on right now, I hope that folks are thinking about that.
Thank you. Also, you know, I was also downtown protesting with Black Lives Matter. So the protesting was very peaceful on 4th Street, and we went all the way to downtown until, you know, you have a few opportunists that took that chance and then went on the looting. And to your point, it's correct. I mean, like Anaheim Street during the looting, there was absence of police, and yet on Belmont Shore in Long Beach, they had like military presence. And it was a basic free fall. And that night I was getting calls from business owners and how can they protect their business? They have guns going into standing in front of their biz. But I also told them too, I'm like, you might have confrontation where you have to have a shootout or something. Are you ready for that? So, I understand it's their livelihood and they're there to protect their business, but they don't want to have a shootout in the middle of the street. And luckily it didn't, but as you can see, most of the business are destroyed and we're slowly rebuilding right now. So again, thank you guys for partaking in this. And Brandon, as a filmmaker, what was your observation on things?
Regarding Black Lives Matter and COVID. Yeah, so adding on to Lan's point, you did tell me that story before, and it still like really makes me angry to this day that like a cop would approach you and just degrade you in our community. But regarding Black Lives Matter in our community, I really want to like preach and emphasize the importance of solidarity between the Black community and the Cambodian community in Long Beach, as well as other ethnic communities that are part of Long Beach as well. Last year, when we were filming the community forum on the redevelopment of Anaheim Plaza that you guys saw in the film, a lot of members of the Black community in Long Beach came out and like stood up for us too. And that was something that was like really powerful and emotional for me because, growing up in Long Beach is such a diverse place, and Cambodia town, although it has like the largest population of Cambodians, we can really get into like this bubble of just Cambodian people sometimes. And, I just want to like preach like, with everything going on right now, the protests and the police brutality and all the racial injustice going on, we really need to like undo the anti-Blackness that is prevalent within our community. It's a really uncomfortable topic, as many of you know, but it needs to be addressed. And we just need to show up for our Black community, our Black brothers and sisters, as much as we do for ourselves.
Chanel, would you like to add on?
Hey, sounds great to me. I'm with you. I mean, I was there at the conversation that we had at Homeland, and I feel like it speaks to the conversation of what it means to identify as someone who grew up here in Long Beach, that we have this active diversity. It really is an issue to me how much, and I don't, I'm not a part of any organization, so sometimes I say things and I know other people, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, so let me just, okay, I can be me. Okay, well, like the mayor and all these people, they preach about the diversity of the city, but they don't really do anything with regards to maintaining it. How can you maintain diversity with regards to the Cambodian community, the Salvadorian, the African American, the Filipinos? You cannot maintain this presence. This is the biggest majority city on the coast, and that's on the entire western coast of this country, and we want to maintain that. We want to encourage that. You cannot say you want to encourage the maintenance of Cambodia town if you're allowing things like the Midtown improvement, this bid that they're working on. I'm sorry, that is erasing. That's erasure. That's getting rid of the small businesses that are operating on the Anaheim corridor. That's getting rid of the small businesses that are operating on the Atlantic corridor. So for me, which I brought up at the original meeting, I do not see the viability of this community outside of ownership. These things that are happening to us are imposed upon us because we exist because of our working class and immigrant backgrounds. We exist in areas that decades before, just calling it what it is, white people did not want to live in and they didn't want to invest into. And we were allowed to make a home and make a community in these dilapidated regions that, as everyone just spoke about with regards to police presence, no one cared about. It made no sense that Long Beach Police Department was paid over $1 million overtime to protect 2nd Street and to protect, you know, the Long Beach town center. You know, that's not where impact was. Impact was on the Anaheim corridor. I was help cleaning Mr. Lem's jewelry business on Anaheim and Molino that was smashed. People literally drove through it and tried to smash it. I was there cleaning on Martin Luther King in Anaheim because I am a part of the community. I have no vested interest there. My vested interest is the fact that, you know, I get coffee right there. I eat here. You know, these are people who exist to me, but they don't exist to the city structure. And so until we have to change, we as the community, until we change the conversation of being victimized into being powerful and building leverage, the beauty of what we have is we have numbers. We have an informal network of people who maybe aren't the richest people, but we're rich in numbers. And that makes us more powerful than a lot of these outside agents can be. There's only one Mr. Black, but there's over 40,000 people that live in this district. And so, you know, that's what I would like to, if I would like to see a lot more of our organizations, more than just advocate for the people, we really have to start organizing amongst each other and putting our money together and pushing and putting pressure on our you know, elected representatives, whoever they might be, to really push towards, okay, you're pushing towards development. If there's to be development, there has to be equity. You know, it's not about representation, it's about equity. And equity implies an economic presence. It isn't just, hey, you know, I'm angry and, you know, I organized and we protested and we marched and then let's go home and we'll get back to it a year from now. No, it's like, it's a continued presence. And also it's we have to be able to get to the meeting of the table that these decisions are actually getting made at, because planning commission's having these conversations already. We're just not there, but we're not there because we're not allowed to be there, because in regards to this value system that they're building, you know, it's about money. Unfortunately, it's not about the people. So I think with regards to like this whole Black Lives Matter movement that's happening, that's what I've seen a lot. I see that we have the numbers. I see that everyone comes together. We coalesce, Cambodian, Latino, Black, whatever. Now we have to, the next step is now we have to open our wallets. Just like we opened our hearts to each other's collective struggles, we have to start opening our wallets.
Thank you. Also, we want to send our condolences to Mayor Robert Garcia. His parents just passed away from COVID a couple weeks ago. So yeah, the danger is real. So please be safe and take care of each other and take care of yourself. And Susanna, would you like to add anything on top of what Sinai just said?
Yeah, so Sinai brought up a really key piece of like the power that we hold as people, not only in our numbers, but also in our voting power. So what, like Sinai said, we don't know who's going to be our next council member. So a big piece of Cambodia Town is located in the 6th district, and that is up for re-election or for a new seat. And so this election is really important to vote because the elected official that it will be sitting at the 6th Council District office will determine what type of development will be attracted into the neighborhood. And so I think that's where we can use our voting power to ensure that whoever is in that 6th Council District seat will be representative of the community and not represent only those with big dollars. And so I think that's something that we really need to exercise during this year, 2020. The other key piece that we can also really flex our power as people is being involved in redistricting. So Cambodia Town is currently split between 2 districts, the 6th district and the 4th district. And when it's split, it's very difficult to advocate for needed resources in our area. So with redistricting, hopefully we'll be able to merge our neighborhoods together so that we have a much even stronger voice and a much stronger voting power within our district. So right now they're putting together a redistricting committee and building out a process for how that will look like for the city of Long Beach. So please continue to be part of that process. The other key piece that is ending this month at the end of September is census. please fill out your census questionnaire online, or they also have in-person hard copy mailers if you didn't fill it out online. This really captures who we are in the neighborhood and helps bring more resources, financial resources into our neighborhood. And so based upon the census, that's what they're going to be using for redistricting. So please vote, participate in the redistricting, and also fill out your census.
Thank you, Susanna. Also, the upcoming George Floyd trial is upcoming, and imagine if one of them is found, one of the police officers found not guilty with the civil unrest. So this, Faith, would you like to add anything on that? Because, you do own property there that could be threatened, and with civil unrest and like that, would you like to add on anything about that?
Well, with everything that's going on, like our family decided not to board up and just, I guess, leave it up to, I don't know, the community to make the right, I don't know, choices to just. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is basically when everything was going down, I had customers texting me and filming what was going on. And while everything was going on, there were other people who were like yelling at looters, so like stay away from the plaza, like don't do anything. Obviously there are still people who got hit that were unfortunate. It seems like it was very targeted. It was either places with alcohol, drugs, or jewelry and apparel, basically. So the protesters and the looters are totally two different categories. So those looters came in from other cities and did it to all the businesses in our city, because people who live in Long Beach aren't going to do that to their own businesses, to the people that they see every day. So I think in the future, if something does happen again, I feel like our community knows now what's going to happen so that we can be better prepared. And we're still going to choose to just leave our store like unboarded up because we have faith that, things are going to end up for the better.
Thank you. And we will continue to watch out for each other as well, all the shops and stuff like that. Yeah, it was frustrating because we had a hard time buying those plywoods. And even now when there's like certain things that are happening, we're still getting phone calls to see if they can board up. Like we just recently boarded up the one on the massage place in that center, and we were able to have an artist go out there and paint a beautiful mural so it doesn't look like an abandoned shop or anything. So this message, this question is for Susanna. What is the current and future development happening in Cambodia Town?
So the city has a lot of plans that they have put together for Anaheim Street. One of the things, living in the neighborhood, working in the neighborhood, there's several different vision plans for Cambodia Town. All these vision plans have been led by the city, and they try to engage community members as best as they can. But when it's led by the city, there's distrust with the city. And so we really want to think about how can we as the community lead our own vision planning efforts and build out what do we want to see within our neighborhood in Cambodia Town. So it's really important to be educated on what developments are currently happening and what's possibly happening in the future on Anaheim Street. The first one is that there is a plan for a streetscape. This plan has been put in place for at least the past 2 years. I've been hearing about it. There is supposed to be construction this year, but essentially Anaheim Street, as you all know, it's very unsafe for pedestrians, for cars, for bicyclists. And so the redesign of the streetscape is to help slow down traffic and build in medians, and there's different stoplights that will be at different intersections that are really hotspots of these accidents. One of the key things that our community members have been advocating for is to make it even more safer for bicyclists and to put in a bike lane. But the city keeps on pushing back that the makeout of Anaheim Street is not for bikes, but for transit. And so this is an area that we can continue to advocate for what's best for our community, and hopefully we'll be able to move that forward. Another key developments that are happening in Cambodia Town are there are several affordable housing units that are being built, which is really great. Part of building these affordable housing units is that they have to engage the community in this process. So one of them is on the large lot that's on Walnut and Anaheim, and it's led by Bridge, and they are partnering with the Children's Clinic. So the Children's Clinic will have a large clinic on the first floor of the building, and then the other floors will be for affordable housing for low income, but also for those that are experiencing homelessness. And so they're still putting the plans together. There's opportunities to speak in on how we want, how that space can be accessible to our community members and be a safe space and healing space for the Cambodian community, the Latinx community, and the Black community there in Cambodia Town. Another key housing building that's being built up is on Martin Luther King and PCH. It's going to be built by Mercy Housing. They are going to relocate that auto shop that's there right next to that empty lot. There used to be a liquor store there. And so talking to the developers there, we were saying, you know, these small businesses are really important to us. How are you going to protect this small business, make sure that they're relocated into a space where they can still have their livelihood and still connect to their customers that live in the neighborhood? And so these are the types of ways that we as community members can push for equitable development, development that we want to see in our neighborhood. The biggest plan that's going to be happening possibly in the next year is called AC-ZIP. So the city of Long Beach received a grant to do rezoning along Anaheim Street. So it's going to start from Magnolia and end at Examino. And Cambodia Town is a huge chunk of it. And with this planning process, it's going to mirror similar process that they did in North Long Beach called the U-Plan. So with the U-Plan, they contracted with an outside agency. They selected a national agency that does a lot of development, and also subcontracted out to local nonprofit to do the community engagement. So what's unique about this process is that they are trying to engage the community in this process, but we as the community ourselves, we need to position ourselves to already be ahead of the game. They're putting together their structures. They haven't made, they haven't released the RFP yet, but that will be coming out soon. And so we have an opportunity as the community to think about, okay, how do we want to lead this process? What types of ways do we want the city to engage us? And what type of guiding principles do we want to see in this development process? So that's what we're hoping to do as Cambodia Town Thrives, is to build up the Cambodia Town residents and key stakeholders to be able to engage in this process and be part of this planning process before it gets started. We really want to be proactive and start building out our own community plan for what we want to see in Cambodia Town.
Thank you. And also for any of the business owners, or if you know of any businesses that were affected by COVID-19 or by the looting, do go onto the longbeach.gov website. They have a relief funds now to help, help out in some small form of way. But do go to the longbeach.gov and look around there and search around for the relief fund that they have. Also, Susanna, with all these future developments, what can we do as a community and key stakeholder to protect the investment of Cambodia Town?
So the first thing is to do our research. Gentrification is not an issue that's unique to Cambodia Town. It's happening to a lot of ethnic enclaves throughout our nation. The one that we've been looking into specifically as we're preparing for a Cambodia Town Thrives initiative is Little Tokyo. So as you know, Little Tokyo has a huge Japanese population previously there, but because of gentrification, a lot of these families were pushed out. There's the historical Little Tokyo area where there's a lot of Japanese small businesses, but because of a lot of the construction that's happening around the metro, a lot of them are closing down. Because of all this gentrification that's happening in the neighborhood, key stakeholder groups, community organizations came together and put together a sustainable Little Tokyo plan. And so in this plan, they actually built out what are some guiding principles that they want developers to abide by when they are considering to do development in Little Tokyo. They also even put specific development projects that they want to see in the neighborhood. So for an example, it's like a community center, especially with a gym, was one of their requests, being able to protect the small businesses, being able to have affordable housing for seniors, especially for Japanese seniors. And they use that document to negotiate with developers and with the city. So one example is that Metro, they're currently doing construction on a metro stop there in Little Tokyo, and it's a huge undertaking. And so while they were putting these plans together, the group that put together Sustainable Little Tokyo met with the developers, met with Metro, saying, these are the community benefits that we want to see while you're in construction, but also when the space actually opens up. And so they were able to push for things that they wanted to actually benefit the community, the businesses that were there, and the residents that are living in that area. And so that's what we see that we also need to replicate within Cambodia Town to be proactive, is that we need a community document that's legitimized by the city of Long Beach that has these guiding principles that of what we want to see in Cambodia Town. And we can use these guiding principles to say, to meet with developers and say, this is what you need. You need approval from us in order to have these projects move forward. Because if you don't have approval from us, then we're gonna make a stink, we're gonna protest, we're gonna delay this process, and you're gonna spend a lot of money on this property. And so you need to make sure that you're investing in the actual people that live here and the small businesses that live here. And so that's what we're planning to do through Cambodia Town Thrives, is to spend the next few months putting together an actual community-led plan that builds out these specific guiding principles that are gathered from community input, but also dream together what are specific projects that we want to see and development that we want to see in our neighborhood.
And also like community fundraisers and such, relief funds and stuff.
Yeah. So like we've already seen how our community has come together, not only through the petition for KH Market to keep them there, but also through this time of COVID-19 and the looting that happened, we were able to raise just through our community over $100,000 to invest back into our small businesses that were affected by looting. And that was just from our community here. And that was raised in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And imagine what we can do together when we dream together about how we want to see development in Cambodia Town. Imagine what we can actually fund, like what Sanai was saying, putting money behind it and buying back our community and really investing and leading in this work. So we can definitely do it. We have a lot of people power. We have just everybody here that's participating in it, preaching to the choir, but definitely we have this opportunity that we can move forward in.
So how can the people get involved?
So participating in Cambodia Town Thrives initiative, our first step after today's event is that we are doing an online survey. This online survey is the first of many engagements that we'll have with our community. We have to be super creative because of COVID-19. We want to be safe, but we also want to gather as much information from community residents, small businesses, key stakeholders, property owners, homeowners. Even if you visit Cambodia Town, we want to hear from you. And this survey will be the first step. Please fill out this survey. We'll be giving out some fun raffle prizes each week to support our local businesses here. The first raffle prize will actually be 2 t-shirts from Cambodia Town Film Festival. And so if you fill out after this event, you can click on this link, fill it out, and you'll be entered into our raffle to get some cool t-shirts. I know that Prach is wearing one of them from the past years, but they have awesome designs moving forward. And then we'll have other engagements. So we'll continue to have community forums like this through online, where we will make it available where people can make comments and dream together what are some of these guiding principles and projects that we want to see in the neighborhood. The other way that folks can get involved is spreading the word. Like we really want this to be a collaborative effort. We recognize that at the table right now, we have a lot of Cambodian organizations and Cambodian leaders, and we really need to bring in that diverse community and diverse Black and Brown voices to the table. So please make recommendations of community leaders from the Latinx community, the Black community that you think should help lead this process and speak into recommendations. The other piece that you can do is just learn about city planning in general. We're gonna be in our events add little elements of things to learn about city planning. There's a whole hierarchy of decision makers, the process of how things get adopted and actually go through the city planning process. And so when we know about that, then we know who do we need to target to be able to advocate and push for the benefits that we see fit for our community. And then the last thing is just volunteer your skills and expertise. I know there's a lot of folks out there that are in real estate, whether you're a lender or property developer or a real estate agent. We want to start buying back our community. And so we need your skills of understanding this market, of how we can do that. Even just being able to know what investments to make, access to capital. These are all things that as a nonprofit leader, I just don't understand. And so being able to volunteer your skills to help make these projects into reality. We don't have to depend on these large developers to do this work. We've got a breadth of strength and expertise in our community that we just need to join together and make this happen.
Well, thank you. And this question is for all the panelists. What is the one thing you can envision for the future sustainability of Cambodia Town? And we'll start off with Vic.
Can I not answer first?
And would you like to answer first?
Yeah, I can answer first. But first off, I want to answer a question that was raised up by Elisa Nicholas, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. The question is, why is the film titled Cambodia Town Not for Sale? So during our community forum last year that we filmed, one of the slides presented by Sheila Sai, I think she's in the audience right now. One of the slide titles said Cambodia Town for Sale ? And that was the original working title of our film. We just decided to hey, let's just use that. But as we were developing the film, we thought it would be better to say Cambodia Town Not for Sale, just to be more clear and adamant that it's not a question that Cambodia Town is for sale. Our community is here to stay, and nothing can change that. But going on to Pratch's question, what is one thing I envision for the sustainability of Cambodia Town? Although a lot of good points were made up by Susanna, such as like better affordable housing, healthcare, improvement of roads, and the updating of facilities. I really want to invest more into our youth in Cambodia Town, particularly kids that are pursuing the arts. So like a lot of scholarships for Cambodian students in our community often focus on those going to STEM, which is like extremely important in its own regard. But however, like as a student like me, like wants to pursue film, there's kind of a lack of scholarships for kids who want to pursue the arts. So I envision like one day we'll have more funding to provide more like scholarships, mentorships, and internships for Cambodian students within our community. And, you know, I'm super proud to be part of this community. Cambodian art and culture is beautiful, and, you know, greater investment into the arts will make our city more beautiful, literally. Yeah.
I can go next if no one else wants to say anything. I've been looking at other communities and how they've been able to protect and really build community development and being able to do it in their own right. And, you know, there's in Little Tokyo, you know, they have a community development corporation. So that's something that we definitely need to see in Long Beach in general, just to have a community development corporation that is representative of the community. But also another layer beyond that is a community land trust. And so being able to form together a community land trust made up of the community in Cambodia Town that actually decides what to do with land and property that's in the neighborhood. So a lot of times with community land trusts, either they purchase property or they work with the city to manage a property that's owned by the city. And so that's an opportunity that we can come together on. And when you own and manage a property, you can pretty much do anything you would like to see with it. And that's the barrier that we run into often with working with the property owners, is that there's not a lot that we can do or advocate for. They're a private business and they can pretty much decide what they want to do with their own property. And so what we need to do is, okay, who's managing that property? Who owns that property? Our community needs to own that property. And the way to do that is through a community land trust.
Thank you, Susanna. Anybody else wants to answer that before we have an open questions and answering for the audience?
I can share. Susanna, is it okay if I talk about like something on the ballot?
Okay. As long as it's not an individual, but like it could be a policy, it's fine.
Okay. So disclaimer, talking as an individual, not associated with any of the organizations on this panel. We've been talking a lot about investing in community, and I want folks to think about like where's money coming from, and why do our communities not have the money that we need to spend on schools and community programs? And on the ballot this November, on the California ballot, there's an initiative to reclaim funding by having corporations pay their fair share of corporate property land taxes, because in the country, there are corporations that just have all sorts of loopholes that prevent them from paying their fair share of taxes, and that starves our communities of resources, and that makes us have to pay more in individual sales taxes. So I just want to encourage folks to look at that measure and to make informed decisions based off of what you want for a community, and to think about who deserves to thrive. You know, like corporate billionaires like Jeff Bezos didn't get there by working hard. You know, I'm sure he worked hard. The business owners that we see in this panel, they work very hard as well. So a lot of these corporate billionaires get rich by exploiting working class people, like the people in this panel and the people in this audience. So I want folks to think about, when you're voting, and not only voting on the ballot, but voting with your dollar, you know, where you spend your money. Think about who should be the one to profit from your hard-earned dollars? Do you want it to be the corporate billionaires who are taking advantage of working class people, or do you want it to be the family that you see down the street every day who lives next door?
Thank you, Lan. Senya, or would you like to add anything to that before we have a open up to the audience?
I'll say this because you brought up Little Tokyo, and that's a great example, Susanna. With Little Tokyo, unfortunately, you had a immigrant community who built a community coming from Japan, the Isai, the first generation people. They came, and then they built a place for themselves in Los Angeles, right? And then unfortunately, when internment, a lot of them were dispossessed of their property. When they returned from places like Manzanar, some people did return to the original area, but a lot of people didn't. The biggest dispossession of property from the people in Little Tokyo actually happened in the 70s and 80s, where you had people in Japan who were funneling money from Japan from a declining or a booming economy and moving it into Japanese American communities. And they actually helped precipitate the greatest increase of development in Little Tokyo, because they use, well, you and I, we're the same people. So, I'm Japanese, you're Japanese. You should sell me the building. And then what they then do is they then go to corporate America and they say, look, I have an education. I am the model minority. I did it the right way. And look, I have this dilapidated, distressed market property. And here, I'll sell it to you and I'll offload it because, again, I don't have the relationship there because even though ethnically speaking, I have a relationship with the people who live there, socioeconomically speaking, I do not. And I think that this has to be a conversation with regards to the Black community and what's happening in the Pali district and the Cambodian community and what's happening in Cambodia town. You have multiple generations. And, I'm not of this community. I can only speak of it as an outsider, but I'll say this. There is a hierarchy within the Cambodian community, from people who are Chinese Cambodian all the way down to the Hmong people, the Hill tribes, and how it has the pecking order of what it means to be in Long Beach and who is a part of the business class and who's a part of the working class. And I think we can see this with regard to who came previous to 1975 and who came in 1990. The people who came in 1990 are not the people who run businesses or who own properties. The people who came 1975 and previous, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them, as the American dream has been successful for them, they retain ownership of property in Cambodia town, but they don't live there. And as time has gone by, a lot of them have sold to the same people who are now developing in the area. So we have to have a conversation amongst ourselves before we have a conversation with the outside communities about how we can sustain that, the viability of these things, and why it's important for the people who live in the same space as me and who are in the same class as me to stay that, because we get too caught up in this representation. I see in the chat, references right now with regards to the current 6th district city council race. And I think this is a great conversation between ethnic succession from one group of people to another group of people, as has happened across the country in multiple areas. There's no issue there. The real issue is class. We have to have a conversation about working class people and what it means to be working class in a working class community versus an ethnic community. If it so happens that a lot of the Cambodian people right now are in a lower class, in a working class, and it is important that the lower class people and not the middle class and upper middle class people are making the decisions. Because if the conversation is to be, the emphasis is on that of the community, it should be on the low income people making that conversation. So with regards to a lot of the housing developments in the area, I'm sorry, not to ramble on, but you have a lot of these developments that are coming into the area, but they're not going to be housing the people in the area, because the middle to upper class people who are having these conversations with the city structure or with the county structure are not thinking of themselves because they don't live in these areas. It's not important for them to have that continuity. So if any project takes any county funds, you're going to have people who are on LA County housing list getting preference over getting placed in the housing being built in Cambodia Town, not people who are living in Cambodia Town now. So I think that needs to be also brought up in the conversation. If the working class people in Cambodia Town right now are to be positioned to have leverage and maintain themselves in these areas, then it's an imperative that they are included. And you know, I'm glad that we have interpreters here, because that's the conversation. Those are the people who need to be within this conversation. We're all in the know. We're all part of organizations. We all have some relationship to someone in certain positions of power, but the people who this really impacts, they don't know that this is even happening. And I'm bringing myself into the conversation, including myself. We have to be mindful that the lower income and the working class people, the people who never learned English, the people who never got sustained or stable housing, the people who are still dealing with the mental impact of surviving the Khmer Rouge and the killing fields, that those people are placed and emphasized more in these kinds of conversations. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And Faith, do you want to add on, or you're good to go? I'm not sure if she can hear me. So I guess we'll just open up to the audience. If you guys are watching, you guys have any questions, please put it down and we'll try to answer it for you. Susanna, you want to read these questions or you want me to do it?
I'm trying to pull up the ones. Seon, can you either share it or put it in the chat box? That'd be helpful. We can do like one question, but what we can do after this time, because it's close to 7 o'clock, is that we can go ahead and respond to questions that were not answered and post that onto our Facebook page. So if you haven't already, please like and follow us on Facebook, Cambodia Town Thrives. We'll be able to post up follow-up in any upcoming events to that. And we'll be able to answer and respond to other questions. So right now, the one that I see specifically is, do you feel that there's a disconnection between the community and the organizations that represent the community? And that's why there's little representation for the community and the lack of communication to the community.
Okay, great. So I'll pass this on to Laura. Laura, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. After what we have seen with the organization, after the looting and this initiative coming together for over 1 year, I don't feel that that is the case. Our community, everyone, the panel have spoken up. We are united. Different communities are coming together to help each other. I'm very proud of our community that different organizations are helping, uniting, and putting a call to action for everything that's happening. There might be 1 or 2 organizations that might be disconnected, but the majority, we are united. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close out. Laura, would you be able to close us out for our time?
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone, for being here with us and listening to the community conversation. After reading all the comments, I know it was impactful for everyone. It was a heartfelt conversation. I want to thank all the panel or the panelists. You've spoken from your heart and you shared to everyone else what we are experiencing. And thank you to Sanai for sharing your truth and your passion, speaking truth of power. That kind of information is quenching the thirst that we have had in this community for a very long time. We are not victims, as you said. We are empowered together. This is the perfect time to exercise our power for transformative change. The energy that resonates here are people's power, buy the businesses back, we need to own our own community land, speak truth to power, community organizing, solidarity with our African American, Latino, Cambodian, and everyone else that are affected. The recent call to action is redistricting, be involved, make sure that they don't slice us up in our community without us knowing. In addition, exercise our rights to vote. In the 6th district, there is now a runoff between the existing incumbent, DeAndrew, and Dr. Suli Saro. We must do our own research to figure out how do we exercise that vote for a change. We must speak up, stand up, together we will rise. This is only the beginning of the conversation. We will have many opportunities to voice what you envision for the future of sustainability of Cambodia Town. The first way you can do this is by completing an online survey at the links posted on the video. We have them in English, Spanish, Khmer, and Vietnamese. We will have weekly raffles for business owners in Cambodia Town for those that submit responses. Please like, share this video, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram to keep updated on ways that you can shape the future of Cambodia Town. Thank you everyone for being here. And thank you everyone for making this evening possible.